It's preaching, 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 guys. Let's go.
Preach.
Okay, so today we have a very, 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 very special guest.
Of ours,
Yes, my
it's
cousin.
family. It's family in the building.
My cousin, my first cousin.
My sister.
Yes.
His sister.
His
allegedly.
oldest cousin. But
This is my brother, so that's his sister as well.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I think I'm doing the math, but black people, family dynamic and crazy anyway. Everybody cousin. So I need to make sure y'all know this is my mom's sister's
actual
daughter.
cousin.
Like
That's right.
not hood cousins, but cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Real
cousins.
Family.
And she came to visit us all the way from
Los Angeles via New York.
Oh, she holding on to the New York.
Still holding on to New York girl. For life.
Just got to Los Angeles. Now she want to still claim New York. I see what's going on here. Okay, so tell us about yourself. You're not just my cousin. It's friend.
My name's Kristen. I own a farm-to-table dog food brand. It's called Wagleaf Organics. So I am a small black business owner, woman entrepreneur.
Oh, yes. And so...
Wait.
Uh-huh.
What's farm to animal?
Farm to table.
Farm to table. Sorry, see. Now listen.
Because that
Hennessy took me to the moon.
maybe farm to table. That's 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 just more culinary.
So I basically source all of my ingredients from local small farms instead of supporting an industrialized food system. So the same as you would eat at a farm to table restaurant for yourself, where they're sourcing all the ingredients from small farms and organic produce and foods as well. So that's the same quality I give the dogs.
Tell us more about it. Like, what kind of pets are you catering to? How's it going? Just give me a deeper, in-depth look into your brand. We'll give the people some.
So the brand caters to dog moms and dads who care about the quality of food that they give their dogs, but also Wagleaf focuses on the culinary creativity of it as well. So not like boring recipes you see in normal dog foods where it's just like, oh, chicken broccoli or beef and potato, or peanut butter, banana. Like, so I focus on the culinary creativity of it. So one of my treats is called Duck Duck Dog. It has duck, butternut squash, zucchini, and thyme in it. The Berry Good Boy Biscotti has blueberries, strawberries, coconut chips, and coconut milk. And then Rainbow Rover has rainbow Swiss chard, box pear, sweet potato, and sage. But then my favorite limited edition treat, because I release limited edition every season, because I do a seasonal menu. The latest is lamb, black truffles, parmesan, and parsley.
Oh, I want to eat it. I'm a dog.
Actually, you know what?
I'm a dog.
Like, I play a little game with myself when I'm doing like markets, because I'll have samples out, but it's for dogs. I count how many times a day somebody will just walk by and pick up a treat and eat it, and then you go to. Sometimes it's too late to stop them, but they probably think my cookies are bland if they think it's for a human, because dogs, you can't put all like the seasoning and stuff in it, but people pick up the treats all the time and eat them.
Okay, true story, confession. I don't know if I told you this, but when I first ordered from you, I literally ate one of the rainbow rolls.
I was thinking about eating that
literally ate one.
It smelled so good.
They do smell good.
I did. It smelled good. I was like, she's using products that humans...
Yeah, it's all human grade. Like,
I ate it, and the thing was, I could see how a dog liked it because the texture was cool. It was just extremely bland.
Yeah.
But... like for dogs, like even a little bit is like...
It's like they can smell and they can taste so much.
Yeah,
better. And you can't add all those seasonings because it's...
I was like, I see how a dog like this because it wasn't that bad.
The biscotti, though, even, like, it's pretty good because it's real fruity. So it's just like eating to, like, a fruit bar. But, yeah.
Shit, we definitely got a vegetarian-ass dog. She loves all the... whatever the fuck you put into her face.
Yeah, I'm expanding to foods, like a regular food menu as well. And it'll be human grade, obviously. But it won't be like ground up like all together like other dog food brands. It's more like a boutique gourmet vibe. Like if you want to enjoy a nice dinner with your dog, so it'll be plated. Like you could plate it however you would plate it at a restaurant, basically.
So she's going to be professional, as you guys can tell, and classy about it. But long story short, this brand, Wagleaf, is not, and I repeat, not for you people who do not care about your dogs.
It's definitely not.
It's high.
I mean, listen to the name Wag Leaf. Wag Leaf. So y'all go ahead and Google that. And
this is not begging bits.
Before we get into our topic,
begging bits.
Go ahead and let us know where we can find Wag Leaf.
You can find it at www.wagleaf.com.
Love it.
And on Instagram at @wagleaf.
Okay. Awesome.
And where can they find you personally? Because you look good. They might want to find you. We did an episode on Sugar Daddy.
I'm inside.
Is she inside?
I'm inside.
She got a man, y'all.
She inside. All right, so what we talking about today?
Sorry.
What do you want to discuss? Because you're this.
You are, I guess. We want to know
KJ
what's on your mind.
Okay. I want to talk about Black business ownership and, more importantly, Black equity in our community.
Doom, bomb drops.
Black equity.
Bomb drops for the
And if you don't know what equity is, Google it.
No, all three of us are really blessed to have the entrepreneurship levels that we've all been at and freelancing. So all three of us here are business owners. So that is extremely important because I'm sure you've went through the ups and downs of just knowing that if I was a different race or different anything that was besides the minority, this situation would not be what it is for me now. You could find investors easier. Banks are more likely to invest into what you have going on because, I mean, we've owned everything from food trucks to sex businesses, sex toys to...
I was going to say, wait a second.
I mean,
I was joking when I said
sex toys. No, not sex trafficking. Let's make sure. Sex novelties, baby. Like
toys and whatnot.
Yes, toys.
Accessories.
Yes, accessories. Wag Leaf, and I'm sure you go through, which we will speak on, what you may go through as a Black woman of color.
I'm sure.
And you are high end, so you're dealing with a lot of different clients that don't ever look for one. It'll be a man, and it'll be a white man if anything, you know. Yeah. So we want to definitely hear about that.
And you stepping into those meetings because I know sometimes you show up. Because not trying to sound ignorant, but your voice, hearing it on the phone. I know sometimes you should look like what?
And even Kristen, the name alone, because if it was
Kristen doesn't sound as
come on now.
I don't know
if
Johnson.
If it was Suki, it wasn't gonna be. They wouldn't go.
But you know what's crazy
is,
I don't know. I've met some white people named Johnson, but I'm gonna let you answer the question.
So it's definitely harder on many fronts for me because as a Black woman, because like you said, okay, one, we're in a patriarchy, so I'm already lower on the totem pole than a man, right? Black or white. So you under Black men and white men, but also
and white woman.
And white woman.
Yeah, don't forget about her.
Only technically.
No.
But also obviously as a Black person, so that combined we get, like you said, the least funded. We're the most likely to have to bootstrap our whole business, which I have been doing thus far, and it's
carry it on your back
for the faint of heart. But also, Black women are the biggest, largest group of new entrepreneurs. So, I mean, Black women, we are doing it out here as far as
at a fast rate.
At a fast rate.
Yes.
The Black girls I know get shot.
But the Black women, they shooting up at a fast rate, but then a lot of them not holding on to it because when you get up to a certain level, it's some type of pressure that
first off,
that they can't take.
Financial literacy is a big part of it, and they don't teach that in American schools in general to anybody.
Come on now.
Let alone in Black schools. So we all grew up in high school knowing how to do, Pythagorean theorem, but we didn't learn just logical everyday
what
stuff.
an interest rate is, how credit cards work.
Get a loan, how to build your credit, none of that.
Nothing. I know I didn't until I went to a private school.
So and then the other problem is a lot of us, once we get to whatever level we get to, we're more likely to give that money away, basically, and not keep it in our communities, or a lot of us can be focused on material things and that sort of thing, and then you blow the check.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Black people, in my experience, from what I see, have a tendency, not just Black women, but Black men too, have a tendency to distance themselves once they're successful. And don't get me wrong, it's a lot of things that I see sometimes our people do, and I be like, ooh, I'm not one of them, in my mind. But of course, I take a lot of pride and love in being black, as I'm sure everybody have seen from the many episodes of Talking. However, I do understand, both sides, but that does frustrate me to see that, like, people, when they reach a certain level of black and then they, like, distance themselves, or, the amount of money we have that we are making, because there are black entrepreneurs, there are black, rich, successful people out here now. Like, it's not like it used to be in the 70s and 80s when it was a speck here in each neighborhood. Now it's like you can go anywhere and, like, that big ass house across the street, it's some black folks in it. Black kids, black. Mm-hmm. Everywhere you go, like, we coming up, and especially black women are at a higher pace, even more than black men, from what I did my research on. But on the same token, which I know that was one of your topics, black equity, we have to make smarter decisions and do more with what we do have. Because, like a Jewish man once told me, is that, Jewish people have gotten so powerful and gotten so far because although they may not span into many different career lanes, they're mostly in medicine and law, but people support them. People go to Jewish attorneys, people go to Jewish doctors, but when they get their money, they don't go to black doctors, they don't go to black hospitals, they use their own ambulance, they use their own markets, their own transportation system, their own everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like they're racist or anything. It's just that's how they grow their community and they build and they own more and more and more and more versus a black person to get rich. This is what we do.
Crap.
When black people get rich, we go spend our money at the clubs that are owned by Europeans. We spend our clothes at designers, which are European. We
Cars, jewelry.
We go to the jewelry store. Those are Arabic. People. Everything we do, it's like all our money goes out, and we spend a higher percentage of the money we earn too. Like black people spend like 99. Not literally, but whatever the statistic is, we spend a higher percentage of our income than any other race.
Oh, for sure.
So when you put out there, we're spending so much and we're not really saving, and we're spending in other communities versus like those other communities aren't really sharing with our businesses like that. We're not thriving as much as we could as a people.
Right. But also like, and this is kind of a tricky topic for me personally, because how I grew up, it was pretty much like all my schools were all white, and so, but at the same time, so I've always been around white people. I've probably always lived in, well, not white areas, because New York is diverse, everybody's there, so I can't even say I lived in a white neighborhood. But my next point was going to be, we also have like, once we make it, we want to get out and be in proximity to white people. Like that's what making it is, instead of putting the money in the community and building our own community so we can have a place we're proud to live or want to live in. It's like, oh, I want to move to a black neighborhood. Like, no, we look at it as we have to get out and go to a white neighborhood.
Because we could have prominent black neighborhoods. Like, Lauderdale Lakes used to be back in the days, that was where the money black people lived.
Okay, thank you for saying that, because that resonated so deeply with me, what you just said, Kristen. Honestly, I hate to have to tell my kids sometimes, anybody that's a black neighborhood, that's a sketchy neighborhood. Usually a sketchy neighborhood, ghetto hood neighborhood is a predominantly black neighborhood. You usually don't see a neighborhood full of white people that you be like, ooh, you gotta watch that neighborhood, it's sketchy. I mean, it's very rare. It's some, but it's,
like
a couple trailer parks.
Yeah, I was saying our projects is their trailer park, basically.
Exactly, but what I'm saying though, you usually don't hear about a lot of people shooting up people in the trailer parks either, or at the red light they robbing you. You know what I'm saying? It's extreme. Like at Overtown in Miami, in certain places in New York, and certain places in California, you can't stop at a red light in a predominantly black neighborhood without somebody trying to come up off of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, ooh, this a lit.
Yeah, I get that, and of course you don't want to get your money up and live in danger. I'm not saying you even have to live. You gotta live in the hood, but my point is, if you're just fine, even if you want to leave and go to the white community, you can't just leave and say, "Bye, y'all." But
I don't even suggest doing that.
Like, I'm not gonna at least put any money back into me, because who's gonna help us?
I don't suggest taking our money and moving to the white communities, because we have a friend, actually, you know her, military friend Brittany. She was just explaining to me, like, yeah, I love because
Her
we was
house
talking
is
about
beautiful. She
beautiful
showed me.
home.
Yeah, it's
Predominantly
like
white
black
people,
My house is beautiful.
and her kids go to schools, great schools with predominantly white people. But we were having a conversation about is your kids going to better schools because they're going to school with white kids or something like
Well,
that?
as a person who has been in education for a while, and I used to be a teacher, I will say that unfortunately, that is a good way to measure how good a school is, how many whites. Because the reality is that
Because black schools don't get the
socioeconomic
funding.
They don't
Yeah.
get the fucking funding. I saw that.
Yeah,
I just
and
recently was
socioeconomic
googling
status
that.
runs hand in hand with academic performance, and so when you look at if a school is majority white kids, it's probably in a majority white neighborhood, which is going to be better statistically speaking in a majority black neighborhood.
Yeah.
They're going to have more funding. The teachers get paid more, so they're coming more enthusiastic. They're not
Sad.
dealing with as much
Yes.
behavior problems, which not to say black kids are bad, but a lot of impoverished black kids are dealing with different things that
At the
kids that
homes.
that parents are successful are not dealing with. Like when I was teaching, I experienced kids coming hungry, kids stashing bags of milk in their bag, say, "Oh my little sister haven't drank. We need milk at our house. My lights off. Come to school dirty." So when you get past all those many steps of what those type of kids are going through, it's hard to get through to them as an educator. So
Yeah, 'cause
I
what
must
they're
say
experiencing
the
at
white
home,
schools are better than the black schools.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
They are, and that's, I mean, we could go
But
deep
that-
down the rabbit hole, but again, it's because of lack of funding from government.
They need to start funding
Red line's a problem,
schools more.
and then they're focused more on like putting our kids in prison than actually giving them any kind of therapy,
Opportunities.
behavioral therapy. Like, we're not teaching real history in any school, black or white. But all
facts.
those things lead to, and like you said, the poverty level in a community and what those kids are dealing with at home with their parents. Like, you can't parent them, luckily. And then you have teachers that don't care, or they're just tired of like these bad kids.
Yeah, because honestly, what was so disheartening to me is that basically a teacher is, that's why I got out of teaching. So a teacher is evaluated nowadays on performance test scores of their kids.
I know
So
that.
imagine your kids come hungry, your kids they don't have electricity at the home, they come
Not
dirty, they
getting
get made
basic
fun
standards
of.
needs met.
They
Yeah.
don't have their bottom line like
Yeah, that's
level
basic
one
standards.
needs
Yeah,
met.
of course they're not functioning
So
well as a
they're not
student.
functioning well. They're coming
Not even going to bed on time.
deprived. I was gonna
Because
say
the mama don't
deprived
give a
of
fuck.
sleep. The mom work overnight, so they waking
The
themselves
daddy
up.
ain't there.
Don't
Yeah.
know their dad in prison, whatever it may be, right?
Usually.
And then you have teachers that are getting punished, docked, reprimanded,
Don't even
watched
get
and-
on. We don't
and
even have the
constantly
teachers.
evaluated for your performance. You're supposed to make these kids perform at the same level of kids that are not experiencing that, not going through that. Parents are educated. Parents are reinforcing it, investing into tutors, etc. And then those teachers at those schools are getting rewarded. They're getting bonuses. They're getting everything. So unfortunately, you have those passionate teachers that want to help kids in the black community. And I'm not just speaking black educators, because every school I ever worked at when I was a teacher was all hood schools. And it was some amazing Caucasian teachers that I know loved those kids down, like done everything they could. But it's disheartening even for those teachers. How do you keep them encouraged and keep them giving back to our community when they not making the same amount of money as a teacher that works at a white school or
In
a school
Parkland.
that have all the resources, a beautiful library, makes more money, etc. Have parents willing to
Overall,
help
a
you.
better life.
Yeah, so then you the good educators are running from those schools and going,
Yeah.
ooh, let me go out and park, let me go across Springs because I'm not dealing with them little bad kids no more for nothing.
I used to
and
hear that
gotta
all
be
the
under
time.
pressure on top
Being
of it.
in one of those schools, which is why I never wanted my children to go to a school like that, because I knew I got cheated out of my education by the other kids always disrupted, and I knew why they were disrupted because they wasn't getting the attention at home. So of course I'm gonna come to school and act the ass because I know for sure Miss Jackson gonna know that I'm here because I'm gonna stand on top of the tables and really act the ass. I've seen it,
Yeah.
and these kids really cheat children like myself who was really trying to learn. And I'm like, damn, I wish that my mom or dad could have put me in a school that had a better education system. This issue wouldn't be at hand. So really, I suppose what we really should do for that to get this type of equity, I don't know if it's ever going to come, because who knows if we get the parenting right at home and we start to tell our parents at home, oh girl, just pay attention more to your kids, da, 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 or,
Yeah.
how we gonna
So,
teach the people?
Here's the next point to that. So, my biggest problem with us as the Black community, we always say, like, we complain and complain and complain about us not getting the funding, us not getting XYZ from the government. It's like, you can expect the same person you're claiming is oppressing you to also help you. Like, why? Like, so at this point, okay, we're going to keep asking for help forever? Or are we, as people, because we've built up enough wealth at this point, even just everyone take baby steps. And not everyone's going to come into the fold as you will, but like, you know, you can put your efforts into starting more like charter schools, and even though those get less like grants and that, because those charter schools operate off of grants and that sort of thing, but like focus on building our own schools and putting the funding into it. It's like we've amassed enough wealth at this point to do that, even to higher degrees, like even with really with everything, because
because how important too is the voting. I hear all the time they say
I got something for that.
We should vote more, because if you complain and show up to these city council meetings, show up to the SAC meetings, show up to this, and that's what changes.
It's all
shit.
important. No one thing. Like, it's gonna take a bunch of different factors like coming together. So that is a big part of it. Educated voting, and not just voting for the Democrat or voting for the Black person. So even the politics, that takes equity. These politicians care about money, like you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess for me, my answer to that, and it's perfect that this came up, because I spoke to my mom today about this. When we was my mom and Mr. Jazz and my stepdad was speaking about Kanye West, and you know, we already talked about that topic.
He going crazy still.
Him losing, he taking L after L. The thing is, Black people as African Americans, our power in society is largely entertainment, and that's where our influence lies. So when we have issues, all we can do is have LeBron James, Serena Williams, our high power like Black athletes or entertainers, Beyonce, tweet and Jay-Z and beg other people that aren't even Black to do the work for the whole community, because that's our whole entire voice. Versus how many famous Jewish people are there? You can't name one. But I bet them Goldstein, Silver,
and all entertainment business, but behind the scenes,
there's
the money behind it.
Yeah, the money behind it,
production.
and nothing is more powerful than the law.
Yeah,
so they're on the legal council of all these teams, and anything they're infiltrated heavy in
this shit.
Economics. They're in politics. They're in sheriff's offices. Places that matter, boardrooms, board of directors for high-end institutions, Fortune 500 companies, legal counsel. So when you look at it like that, we are, as Black people, and I know this back to being a teacher, when I was teaching, I would have parents with kids that are in second grade telling me, his coach say he going pro. So with that being said,
that's their main, like,
we are raising our kids to be like, you can be an entertainer, you can be a reality TV star, you can be a rapper. But not telling our kids that they should be a councilman. They could run for Congress. They could run for Senate. They could be a mayor. They can be a attorney. They can be a sheriff. Those are the people who make the real difference and can make it quick without having to beg and tweet and do all that. Like, no, seriously.
You think you got power, but you really don't. No.
Prime example.
You're making the money. They're cutting your checks. And they're still telling you, like, haha, perform. You know what I mean?
Celebrities really
Shut up and
dribble. Yeah.
But think about this, right? Let's just say, if I'm Black, right? I'm gonna say it. I'm a white man. I'm the sheriff. I'm Broward County. I'm top of the sheriff. I'm over the police department, right? A Black man gets shot unarmed right out in the street outside your house. It can be the biggest story there is. He could be 12 years old. LeBron James, Beyonce, her mama, Jay-Z, the kids, Blue Ivy, and the Kardashians and Kim could tweet. They can call. They can do whatever they want. And I can still decide, I'm protecting my own. They're right. I'm going to press charges on him. It's one person, and you could tweet to 5 million people with all them people together. Oh, no, 5 million. I meant 5 billion people. And one person, one decision maker can get it done. So that's why, back to what you said, it's important to vote. Because we have to vote in the primary. There's a lot of Black people voting for president. Well, not just Black people, people in general, minorities, not really, a lot of people, white, just a lot of people I know don't understand how voting works and how politics work.
Voting locally is more important.
Voting locally is more important. Those are the people who make the difference in your life.
Shimon.
So you need to vote locally, and you need to raise your kids and condition your kids. I'm speaking to minorities at this point to be something outside of an entertainer, which is all beautiful. You know, I work in and out, you know, with entertainers and things of that sort, so I love it. But let's be clear. Those people don't have influence outside of social influence.
Right. And it's not like we don't have the capability, because let's be real, like we're amazingly talented people overall. We're amazingly smart. We just a lot of times don't have the resources. It's like really
don't have the
like,
resources. Yes.
Going back to the beginning of time, like we created a lot, like the concept of even mathematics and science. It's like we have the talent and the smarts to do it. It's just like you said. And I tell this to Van all the time. Like he said, we're not being smart with our equity, the equity that we do have, because like I said, we've built enough wealth. But on the entertainment point, I'm like, we don't even realize, like, we're just not even thinking of the fact that we could literally, it would be so easy for us to say, own teams, NBA teams, the whole, what do you call it, organization, like NBA, whatever the black version of that is, because guess what? At the end of the day, we're the talent. What are they going to watch? Like, if we all decided, okay, we're forming this organization, not saying white players can't play on, like, of course, y'all can join.
Luka is the guy.
Luka can.
My favorite player. I was going to fight about him now.
Yeah, like, they can come on, of course, and of course they will.
If they want some
but it's
competition.
like, what is every other race gonna watch? They would have to eat humble pie and come over and watch whatever the.
And I don't think it's the people at large that have a problem with minorities of any sort. I think it's more so the playmakers, the powerful people behind the scenes.
Yeah, of course.
The owners and those type of people who are like slimy and low key, like racist.
Yeah.
I don't think.
And everybody would also have to get on board. I think
majority of fans just love everybody.
Yeah, the fans. That's not the problem. But all the black players would have to be on the same page instead of having this thing like, oh no, we can't do that. Like, you know, they're not.
That's crazy because you could create your own leagues. Like
the easiest thing
it already
because
existed.
We are the talent. Like the sport doesn't exist without us.
Oh, let me ask you a
Let's
question.
be honest now. We've been entertaining the white folks since the beginning of the time. Now we just getting paid for it
guess
now.
what? And then we complain.
We just getting some
because
millions
guess what?
now.
Those same players that are making millions and millions of dollars, of course, but that's what white people use against you to be like, oh, we paying you all this money, so just shut up and dribble. And so now we're mad because, say, if a person does get shot by the cops, or like we saw the George Floyd situation, they can't even stand up for their own people because they are owned by these people that are telling them you better not say anything, or you suspended, you whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that if you own the organization. Like, that's what we're not thinking about, the bigger.
But I think a lot of people don't. Nah, that ain't what Jay-Z on.
Oh, it ain't? Oh.
Jay-Z is on capitalism.
Yeah, Jay-Z's on
capitalism.
capitalism.
Over for himself.
Because like
saying
the whole
black pride in the
NFL thing,
process.
it was like, oh, Jay-Z's gonna come in there and fix it. What
What,
you give us a halftime show full of black people? Like,
okay, cool.
We're still entertaining.
Still got to tweet and beg for help.
Yeah,
like it's really I like Jay-Z and I love
Jay-Z. I love Jay-Z.
And I respect the wealth because
I respect his capitalism actually, but
he a snake ball now.
Yeah,
but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
I just feel like, okay, so I'm asking you this.
Okay.
And I don't know, I never asked you this. I'm not even sure if we had this conversation behind the scenes, but I've been reading into this lately and I've been having this conversation and hearing it with people. A lot of people nowadays are saying that, okay, desegregation was the worst thing for black people. What do you think about that statement?
I, on the whole, agree, actually. Because if you think about what the black communities were doing when we were still segregated, fresh out of slavery, we were creating places like Black Wall Street. And like I said, people are just finding out about Black Wall Street, let alone knowing that there were many Black Wall Streets across the country. So they all suffered the same fate from white people. Like they all got destroyed, bombed, set on fire, whatever, massacres. But, you know, we were accomplishing that fresh out of slavery. Like, think about that. Like, we weren't even taught to read, you know, most of us. But they didn't
no
think.
athletes.
Yeah.
Already.
No tweets.
Right. They thought when they let us out, we weren't going to know what to do.
Have to come back.
They just going to be on the streets.
Yeah.
People always say that till you going to come back.
That's what I said.
Yeah. So that's what they thought was
true.
going to happen. So think about that. Fresh out of slavery, we created wealthier communities than they even had. So that was a problem, number one. So, you know, as far as the segregation point, when we had Black Wall Streets, we were like Jews. We were putting all of our money into our communities. We had the Black doctors there. We had the lawyers. We had the small business men, pharmacists.
The Kmart. It's not literally Kmart, but I got
the cleaners, the
Black everything.
Black everything in thriving communities. So tying back into education, even that's why. So my thing, when I think about how I want to give back to my community, like I'm big on education in many forms in our community and how to fund that. But like history was always my favorite subject. And we come from a family that's big on teaching history, and a lot of people aren't. But my thing with history is if you know what you've accomplished, what your ancestors have accomplished since the very beginning, what they don't teach you, then you'll know what you can also accomplish. Because we have our own thoughts in our head about who we are, what we can accomplish. We think, oh, that's just all the negative stuff, that's just what it means to be Black. Like, no, baby, we invented
it's
all
pride
this
in
shit.
being
Like,
Black.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
like,
I have to explain that too as a person that hangs out with, I wouldn't say majority, but I say like split. I hang out with a lot of white people. I have a lot of friends that I hang out with consistently, went to schools with them. Those are my people, and I have to explain to them. And as well as we already spoke, like, dating people outside of the race, everything. I've had to explain that, like, me having pride in being Black doesn't mean I don't like you. Yeah. Or I have a problem with your people because of what the people before you, your ancestors have done. Like, people get defensive, and like, even I know, like, even with the podcast, like certain topics we talk about, like I try to explain, like, it's nothing against you personally. It's just that this is, like you said, we come from a family of learning history. My mom was teaching me, like, when I was young, because I would start off in North Andrews Garden, white magnet school. My mom telling me, like, oh no, before I'm in kindergarten, I'm going to class, like, well, my people created an iron board and the lights and everything. I'm arguing back and forth. The one boy said, what's that? I'm like, what? He's like, your skin. So I experienced like a lot of little slick racism. And my mom put me on game, like taught me my history. And I think that's what is wrong with a lot of Black people. And some Caucasians and some other minorities not knowing your history. History is everything. It's knowledge.
I feel like
it teaches you how to move forward once you know the past.
It's not anti-white. It's like, I love myself and I love my people. And we did do these things where you made a lie and keep telling the lie that y'all been telling us. But that's why Black schools are important, and teachers, and like someone forming a curriculum. Like, I would love to have my own school because that curriculum would be on point. And they would have like the right resources to acknowledge, like you said, the therapy and all that kind of stuff, the behavioral stuff. But it's like that history curriculum is going to be on point because that's the most important part. But we in America have a thing, we don't like to acknowledge our atrocities and move on. It's like, even with the teaching thing, like critical race theory is a big thing right now. And it's like, we shouldn't be teaching our kids to feel bad about being white and teaching them things that we stole the land and yada, yada, yada. Okay, but also in history, there were Black abolitionists, but there were also white ones. How do you know your white kid may not identify with the white abolitionists? Why do you think they would just automatically like feel bad or be negatively impacted?
I think all of that stuff is realistically,
they just don't,
because it goes back to my original point. When you get in a certain place in power and decision making, you can make the call on it. And the bottom line is that it goes down to accountability. Most people don't want to be accountable for the things they did, whether it's to step on somebody's neck to get where they gotta get, do what they gotta do, and that's just the reality of it.
But with that being said, back to Black equity. That's why it's our responsibility, because they're not going to do it. Like, they don't want to acknowledge it. They don't give a shit about it. On top of it, like, why we're just going to keep waiting? Like, okay. Even like things like how we're portrayed as people in the media, we don't control the narrative, because guess what? We don't have the equity. So every time a slave movie comes out, you already know, what do I say?
Oh, I was about.
What do I say?
You remember when I interrupt you and you kept talking? I was about to say that is why I don't want to see not another.
Oh, it's coming out, bitch! Because I just seen
Will Smith got
the rest of them niggas. Nope, not just him. I just saw some shit.
Side profile.
I just saw some shit the other day. They're casting for nigger on the river. I said,
What?
nigga on the river. Tyler, I said, bitch, I got a screenshot and I said, Tyler, look at this shit. And he said, he just shook his head.
Who doing it? Tyler Perry?
I think so, bitch.
I'm so tired of him.
I actually think so. Maybe I'm going to peel that shit
We'll
up.
pull it up later,
Yeah.
but like, if we don't have the equity to have the studios and to afford the studio, we have to rely on white screenwriters, white directors, because the white studio owners, because they have all the equity, they have all the money. So if you're controlling all of that, guess what? You're going to keep putting out black struggle narratives, whether it's slavery, whether it's the down and out kid in the ghetto, and blah, blah, blah. So if black kids are always seeing that about themselves, they think that's what it is to be.
And it's like African American they looking for, and then you look at the story, it's drug dealer. It's oppressed, beat up the girlfriend type shit. I'm like, what is this domestic violence?
Every big show we have is like a drug show. Like,
and they want to,
Power the white,
and look how much they keep giving 50 Cent. They like keep putting this shit out. Keep putting this shit out.
They want us to look like that way, and largely, some of these things are attributes of our most dangerous inner city communities. But I feel like to build up that black pride, that black sense of like self-love, is that we have to put out stories of our what was the lady? She had a Netflix special recently. It was like a year ago. Who made their hair products? Who was a millionaire? She was one of the first black millionaires. It's in history.
About Madam Sj Walker.
Madam Sj Walker.
That Netflix
first, like that was like our Black Oprah back in the days. She was one of the first black female millionaires. It probably was the first, and like putting out stories like that. It's been a few, like 1 or 2 movies. They probably been straight to DVDs, not mainstream.
Yeah.
But about Black Wall Street and things of that sort.
What the fuck is a DVD?
Well, that's my point.
The kids don't know about that anymore.
That is exactly my point. So, straight to Toomey and I don't know, not even HBO Max.
Right.
Video. Netflix is not even giving that. It's giving, Toomey, a little For Us, By Us.
Right.
Exactly. But seriously though, getting that narrative change, because it's so deeply instilled in us as black people, not us younger black people, but I look at like my parents, like my mom, not her specifically, but I'll say like my stepdad the other day. We having a conversation, we talking about a specific neighborhood. He's like, yeah, I dealt with the white people. And back in the days that was a thing. But now you cannot tell me a white neighborhood I don't know it exists. Like I know it's predominantly white. I know what you're trying to say. But you can't tell me out there where the white people. Because in the most prestigious neighborhood in Parkland is known as Heron Bay. Mm-hmm. Okay, in Heron Bay.
I know Heron Bay.
I know 3 people live in Heron Bay. All 3 of them black. Mm-hmm. I know one person that used to live in Heron Bay that's not known that she was English. White but not born in America. So I say that to say, people are everywhere now. Mm-hmm. It may not be a majority of black people or a majority Hispanic, but there's affluent people in every group of people now. So, as soon as we can see it, our younger generation, they can see past our circumstances and past what we were born into, then...
Yeah, and past what's shown to us.
What's shown to us and what's being beaten to us. Because just like how people have a problem with, all kind of things being shown to the kids. Hypersexuality, homosexuality, all these different things that people are coming through a whole thing to complain about. But nobody complains about all these gangster movies. These violent slave, ass movies.
That's going to move us into censorship on our next episode. We'll probably talk about.
Yeah, nobody, that's all. We don't want to see that.
Yeah, black so y'all don't care about kids seeing people murdering each other?
That's deep into because people don't understand like their psyche, your subconscious is so powerful.
Fuck.
Like when I used to listen to Young Jeezy, she knew how.
Oh, I want to be a street nigga now.
Friend. Like you was in the streets for real, but anyway.
And don't get me wrong, I'm multifaceted. I was on Jeezy and all the back in the day hood stuff as well. I love the variety of music, and I always have. But at the same time, I was telling a friend the other day, people love to just use it, cop out, just raise your kids. But it's not as simple as that. Music and entertainment does influence our kids, but because when we were kids, it wasn't as available. You had destructive type of music, but it wasn't as destructive.
Buy it. You had to have money.
You had to go buy the whole CD, and it was probably the censored version. They didn't play certain things on the radio. Artists back then could talk about drugs and
internet,
sex in a way that was
in like 1
creative,
second.
and kids didn't know what we were talking about. But so we had to go on LimeWire and give our computer a whole virus just to try to download. Like now it's so easily accessible. Like I'm just on Apple Music, on Spotify.
Exactly.
Girl, LimeWire virus.
Coronavirus.
Give your computer coronavirus.
Like out of that.
No, that's facts though. Because if I'm listening to Kane Brown and versus goddamn Kanye West, then of course my kids are gonna have a different upbringing because Kane Brown, he talking about love and all that, and his damn trailer track and shit. And Kanye West talking about big chains and his money.
I'm telling y'all, I never had
That's
street ambitions. Those things, listening to Young Jeezy, I never had that ambition or never in the forefront of my thoughts. Never thought I would be a drug dealer. Never thought I would live that life. But I'm not gonna lie, like I used to feel that music so deeply, and it just rung to me. Where I'd be in my car and I just be like.
You feel it. The
Guess who's back up in the building? And like literally, you could not tell me for a period of my life. Like I wasn't literally doing it because I was scary, but I really did used to think I was a trapper. Like I used to wake up and like put on my big white tee, my big dickies down to my ankles because I wanted to look like Jeezy. I wanted to talk like Jeezy. I wanted to move like Jeezy. And I was a little scared to do it. But think of a kid with a weaker mind or a kid that don't have successful parents or a kid that's in a predicament where they might need to do what Jeezy talking about.
Because we did have the great parenting also combined, but like you said, think about the kids that don't have it and they have it just accessible. We're talking about the most violent, destructive.
Yeah, because my parents had money growing up. Like, so, I mean, not rich, but like middle class. So it was no need for me to feel like I really got to sell rocks. But if some kids, think about those kids I spoke about earlier that I was teaching, that lights off. Them the kids that when they say sell rock, so that's how I'm going to make it out of this situation.
You get out. They're praising it like it's a good thing, but they're also praising the worst stuff. Killing and everything else, disrespecting women, we won't get on that. But like all that stuff, we like praise it, and we're like the only ones doing that in our music. Like why? And people will say, "Oh, it's just entertainment," and they talk about, "Oh, you can't prosecute a rapper for lyrics that they put in a song." It's like it's just entertainment. But what about us? Why do we find that entertaining? Like why should that be something you want to put out as like something you would talk about or something that you find entertaining? Like that shouldn't even be something you want.
Well, I think it's deeper, and this topic could go on for 2 years, but I think it's a deeper root to it because people go with what's already selling, what's the proven method. The record labels, as a person that's aspiring to be a record label exec one day, the record labels are going out proven success and proven formulas. And the formula that was given by the oppressors is to villainize and lower black people vibrations. Shout out to Stormy.
Low vibrational.
Love.
It's very low vibrational.
I can't even say that. I was gonna say love your scam, but anyway.
I just said it anyway.
Don't edit it out because it's true. But no, seriously though, lowering their vibrations and we're taught that we aren't gonna be a certain place. We aren't worthy. We aren't doing this. So once that was already given to our people and that began the music we would talk about, because it didn't start out like that. Like people were making music when rap first started out like about doing better, like
doing
live
better.
up,
They're talking about just love,
upbeat, like love,
loving each other.
But now once it came to that, and we see the success and people buying it, especially not only black people, because majority of hip hop consumers now are white, and you got white people who never lived that life, never will, but they love like running down on ops. Like I've been out with
and
my
like
white friends, and they reciting word from word the most gangster songs. I don't even know.
But they also feel like in their head, like J. Cole said, that's what it means to be black. Like,
right.
Because they don't know any better. They're not really
and
in
they're
the
not doing it on purpose.
They don't have black friends, for real. Like, you know what I mean?
So they supporting it.
I connect with that shit because I grew up in it. And don't get me wrong, because you could be black and not grow up in the lifestyle, but you could still see the shit
and that's
be
what
exposed to it, and you could experience it like that. But if you aren't even experiencing it, don't even know nobody who's experiencing it, and you like, I be in running down no ops, like and you selling it like word for word, like hard spit, but like
and the
it confuses me.
It you, like
I guess the beat, but
run down on
it confuses me for somebody.
You're
not in touch with that shit at all.
And they saying the N-word with it when they say it.
And how are you like feeling comfortable? I gotta resonate with something to be like,
it boils back to history.
You know?
They don't know the history of what their people have done. They don't know the history of where we come from. They don't know the history of where these rappers come from. They just resonate with the beat, the music, how it makes them feel, and it makes them feel like they can live a life that they haven't lived. And everybody loves a fantasy.
It's a fantasy.
It's a
fantasy.
That's the purpose of masturbating. That's the purpose of a lot of things.
Stuff I've gone but that still brings that back to Black equity, because what Van was saying, the record labels, they're gonna go what they can capitalize off of. You can't even get a deal unless you're talking about something destructive. So back to equity. We don't own the labels.
Boom.
We can't put out the narrative.
Wow.
If I have my own label, I will focus on artists that's super talented and talking about some, positive real stuff. Because there's a way to, like, it didn't have to be like, oh, kumbaya, and just super innocent. Like, and people do have their own experiences coming up in the hood. But, like, if you're actually talented as a musician, like your Kendricks, your J. Cole,
that's
your
the problem.
like,
it's very few of them.
If you're talented enough, because people love to cop out, oh, Black people won't buy it.
They buy Kendrick and J. Cole shit.
If they're good enough, they will buy it. And the people that want to hear it, like me, that have no option but to just listen to foolishness, it's like a lot of us, we would want to buy it. And if you see these few people with success, like, but we don't control the narrative because we don't have equity, because we don't own the labels.
And I love what you said, because J. Cole and like Kendrick are our Tupac of our times. Like, they talking some shit that got these white people that go hard for them. I love diehard Kendrick and J. Cole fans that I know personally will beat anybody up about them. You know, they're talking the shit that is history in there. It's history in them lyrics. And so
which is also very astonishing, J. Cole being my favorite rapper, that his mom is white.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that shit.
Yeah, he's biracial, and I say that to say,
love it.
As ignorant as it may sound, like mostly, I think when people are biracial, I have no
they're usually not connected to,
but they more
blackness.
so connect with their mom. Mm-hmm. So
their mom,
the fact that he's so black, and the lyrics,
black.
It just makes me, when I listen, I forget he's a person that's biracial. Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh, I'd be offended if I was the white side.
Me too.
Black stuff, like his
and
mom
he even be saying cracker and soda. I know his mom be like, just give me the money. I'm sick of you and your shit.
Just pay for my house.
Just buy my house. I'm sick of
you and your shit.
But yeah,
no, like, Drake the same way, actually, to be honest.
We just don't have the equity. So in all these narratives that we talked about today, like, it all goes back to Black people, we don't own anything. So if we want, and we're the main ones complaining about the narratives that are portrayed, the funding that we're not getting, we are waiting for something that's never going to happen. We need that equity. So our job is to be Black business owners, keep our money in our communities, not down talk other Black businesses. That you will go to Gucci and pay $1 million.
Because that's what I was just about to say.
Ooh,
Come on now.
Go to McDonald's, curse them out at 8 different locations, but still go back.
And all my people right now, all our people doing OnlyFans, selling y'all drugs, doing the plug. Y'all got these $50,000, $60,000 fucking chains, sometime $100,000 chains. And y'all renting these houses, living with y'all mamas, all kind of shit like that. We don't own shit. Before we get the fucking chain, get a $60,000 condo and fix that shit up, and then get your chain later. You can still have your chain. You can still have your chain. Just get a motherfucking place first.
And my microphone is
right, bitch.
Because even like in my business, personally, like, and Van knows this is kind of like sore subject for me because, you know, I've gotten accused of like, so my brand, if you check it out, like, if the viewers check it out,
Wag leaf.
Like, people be like, girl, it's some white ass shit. Like, it's very
Caucasian, I could say.
Van says it's very Caucasian.
I think it's just outside of the vernacular of your average.
Ooh, vernacular! You better come on there, Green. You heard him.
Masters.
Come on, Masters.
Yeah, but it is catered to like a certain demographic, and by all like appearances, it looked like I didn't cross to the other side. But in my Black mind, my Black ass mind, I'm like, okay,
you don't open the new lane. You opened a new lane.
I'm about to take all this money and then put it over here with us. I'm not trying to be over there.
This ain't no white shit that you doing. This is black shit, like you said.
That's what I'm
black
about to get
shit.
to.
Go
like,
ahead,
yeah.
get on into that. This black
Start
shit
the
that
professionally to a point where it's so
change the
nice that it's
narrative.
given white.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
it's not white, but I will say I know my business. I know who like buys my product, and it's not something I'm trying to portray. Like, you know me, this is me. Like the things I produce and that I'm interested
I heard that
in,
Tennessee and that this is me.
This is
that's
me.
Alabama right there. This is me.
Yeah, like the biggest problem is me. So like it's not like up front, like this is what I love doing, and my customer base happens to be white. So I'm not putting out a white product. I don't even say like I'm a black business owner. I lead with black business, black owned, black owned. I feel like you shoot yourself in the foot. Actually, that's a whole other subject when you do that. No, I just
with
create
black people because black people be hating on black people.
I produce a quality product, and I happen to be a black business owner. And whoever wants this quality is gonna come to me to get it. And white or black, like
you can look at the people when you say that, because the people is in that lens. You can look at them when you say it. Know what you say, mean what you say.
It's a quality product. You just come and get it. But the main point is like, although I'm getting all this white equity, like my brain has to say, okay, I'm putting this back into my community. When I think of how successful I want to be and the amount of money I want to make, my first thought, like I have a whole notebook of like community contributions that I want to make. Like these are real important goals for me. Like I'm thinking, what can I do? How can I, build this, that, and the third for my community? And I feel like if more people thought like that, then we'd be better off. But like you said, instead of just breaking our necks to put it elsewhere, like you know me, I'm not big on like bags and shoes. Like I love nice.
She got a bag or two. She got a Celine.
I got a bag with me.
She came in with a Chanel bag. Don't let her lie to y'all. This bitch got a Chanel bag right up there on that counter. Do not be fooled. And it's a crocodile Chanel. Just know that.
It's vintage. But you know me, like I got some pieces.
We love a piece.
I got a few pieces.
A piece or
but
two.
That's not my main factor. Like, ooh, what can I get? My type of luxury, I want a big farmhouse. Like my luxury is my living space and what makes me comfortable. And I love animals. I want to rescue. I want horses, like rescue horses and all that kind of stuff. But like that's my type of luxury. But that's still putting it back into me because that's my land that I have equity in. And if I want to sell it, then I'm making money off of that point. I'm growing my own food. Like, you're not even getting that from me.
Come on now. Come on.
So that's how we should all think is. However we get our money, whether it's entrepreneurship or not.
Even if you get it illegally.
Even if you get it on the streets. Like, flip that money.
This money can come from
this is how you buy the block. Like,
yes.
Yeah, you buy the block.
I love this conversation.
Yes, this was good. Yes.
Yes, I did. She gave the topic. We all spoke on it. But I love how you wrapped it in and you gave the solution. That is the solution, people. If you didn't hear it, I'm not going to repeat it because it's been long. Rewind. That is what it's for. Rewind. Press that little circle button back.
That's right, because we over an hour right now. So we next time, we definitely going to be talking about censorship and a lot of other things. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You are a bishop.
Yes.
You are not a preacher.
Y'all see the class she came with?
No.
Bishop to the choir.
Look, I'm the Pope, baby.
I don't
do that.
All right, this is Preaching to the Choir. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you. Love y'all.
Peace.